All right, it's first of the year, and we're all back, including T. Where you at, T?
Happy New Year.
Where you at? Oh, there you are. All right, we're good. So we said in the beginning that we were going to do these weekly, and the holidays crept up on us, and well, they didn't go the way we thought it was. So we were able to put out 4 total, and we're going to try to put this out on YouTube, and hopefully we'll get more followers. So because
and hopefully they can see us this time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
and they won't leave rude comments about well,
they will.
Frankly, they can't about you.
They
But
can. They can.
there
Wanna see
you
what
are,
I'm
T.
wearing?
Look at yeah.
All right.
All right. So for I don't know, Brian. Well, I'll introduce. My name is Manny Angulo. I'm one of the co-founders and vice president of PISTOL, which stands for Post-Incident Stress in Trauma and Law Enforcement. It's a shout out to Dave. I know he's probably not even going to watch this, but hey, it's there if he wants to see it.
Hi, Dave.
And to my right is a wonderful man who I think one time when he was about 10 years old probably OD'd on Fun Dip. Remember Fun Dip? You dip your lid in and get all strung out on that.
I love Fun Dip.
Fun Dip was a good thing.
Sure.
I don't think that was.
Did you ever have that?
I did, but that wasn't my
It wasn't your
That's
my
not
go-to?
vice.
That's not what you
What was your go-to?
overdosed on.
Red licorice and Dr Pepper.
Right on. Right.
Together?
Mm-hmm.
You drank it
Really?
like the licorice in the straw? Like
No, it was like the nibs. They're little chunks of licorice.
Oh, that doesn't even
that
sound
was
good
just
together.
the summer.
I go Fun Dip. I like Fun Dip. So Brian Romney to my right, which is
Hello.
our secretary. And also here is T. Where you at, T? There you are. Right there.
Moving along.
So due to circumstances beyond her control or within her control, she's going to stay off camera for the time being.
I'm undercover.
All right. I like it. We'll just call it that. So I think this podcast, we were going to talk about surviving the holidays, right?
Yeah.
And what we did to survive the holidays without being either indicted or at least arrested for a misdemeanor charge of simple assault on people in the malls. So I know we talked before, and we talked in one of our groups that some people they're fucked up during the holidays. And I think when you have PTSD, that just stands to reason because there's people everywhere. There's lots of crowds. But for me, you know, in the holidays in my department, I don't really remember Christmas time or Thanksgiving being all that bad because I worked swing shift and everybody was relatively calm from the hours of like noon to 9-ish because everybody was still cordial. They hadn't seen people all, you know, for 11 and a half months, and they show up. They don't have the saucism just yet. And it was relatively quiet. People bring us food at the station. There were like trays and trays of food.
That's in the olden days when everybody first started. That's when it was quiet. As time progressed, I think it got busier and busier, earlier and earlier.
It did.
The longer we went on.
Yeah, it did. I do remember it getting busier, but it didn't really get that violent busy. And I know some departments, there's a lot of suicides. There's a lot of drunks. And we did have our fair share of that. But it just didn't really affect me. And to be frankly honest, I thought to myself, I'm working on Christmas Day, time and a half or double time and a half. You know, family's going to be good with gifts. So
Yeah.
for me, the struggles with the holidays really aren't maybe the bad calls. I do remember one call on Thanksgiving Day, and we thought, and it was relatively towards the end of my career, and I was on a senior squad, and we thought, you know, I'm just not going to go 10-8 for a couple hours. Like, I'll go 10-8, but I'm not going to leave the station because I'm going to eat all the goods that are on the briefing because there's cookies and, you know, everybody brings stuff. And my whole squad was thinking to themselves, we're going to do this, and we're going to watch football.
Oh, yeah. I do remember thinking that.
Yeah. And we had
We
done pretty
monitor
good.
from the station.
We did pretty good for the first couple of years, but this particular year was, I think it was my last Thanksgiving working before I was retired. And everybody signed on, went 10-8, and we were grubbing, watching TV, and about 30 minutes into the entertainment and food, a hot call comes out. And it's a subject shot in the back in an alley somewhere. And it's like maybe 5-6 miles from the station. So, you know, we're a salty squad. And instead of jumping out to go help people, you know, we're looking at each other like, there's some bullshit right now, right? I just want to eat my fucking sandwich and watch a game, and some motherfucker got to get shot. And so we get in the car, and the earlier swing shift was already on, so we were hearing them chime in. And I thought to myself, this has got to be a joke. Who the fuck gets shot on Thanksgiving?
Right.
Just, you know. So we roll up, and sure as shit, there's some gang member, and he's, you know, face planted down. He took a round to the back. It was like a 38, non-life threatening. But it's Thanksgiving. So right. If you just shot somebody, chances are, if you're the only motherfucker driving a car at a high rate of speed when no one else is on the street,
you probably did it.
You're guilty. And that's exactly what happened. So someone very close to you, T, was on my squad at the time. And he's quite vocal. And he wasn't very happy that we were taking paper on Thanksgiving 2 hours into our shift. And I ended up going to the hospital with this kid, you know, because I had worked gangs and I was familiar with them, trying to get him to tell me who had shot him. And, you know, we ended up just talking about football or some shit because he wasn't going to tell me who shot him. And so, I mean, that's really my only time of dealing with bad times during the holidays. I always told myself during the holidays, if I have to work on a holiday, if you're going to act a fool, then you will be going to jail. There won't be any cite and release. You will be. Right.
You're going to act like a jackass. Then you're going to go to jaily by. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if I got to work, I'm going to make it worth it. Right. I'm not just going to cut a coupon and do a CNR and kick and release them and be about my business. Although it did suck to book somebody on, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. Even though the jails were dead, it was like you took a prisoner in there. They were pissed at you. Why are you bringing this customer?
Oh,
you got to work.
That is true. They were. If you think about their holiday, we ruined their holiday, but
not me. It was the jackass that decided to pull the trigger on the guy that shot the gang member in the alley.
That's true.
So I don't really have, other than just the normal everyday triggers of people, you know, like this particular, this last, it was Christmas Eve day. And my wife says, you want to run down to Fry's and get me some whatever I need. And as we do that, you know, I think maybe I'm further out than normal. So I don't really think about the consequences. And I'm like, sure, I'll go to Fry's for you on Christmas Eve.
Wait, are you talking about now, last Christmas?
Just this last one, 2018.
Because I stopped listening to you a minute ago and I don't know what happened.
Did I lose you?
You must have.
Yeah. She was dissociating.
I was like,
it's just a boring story.
Recalling her own story.
I don't know what I was doing. Go ahead.
So, you know, I think to myself, sure, why not? I can probably do this because I've been doing good. So I shoot over to Fry's and I go pull into the parking to get a parking space. There's a car backing out and I'm waiting there with my blinker on and waiting. The guy starts backing out. And as he's backing out, another car comes in from the opposite direction. And we know where this is going.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't happening right now. And the guy takes off from the parking space, and this other guy decides to try to creep in there.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a bad idea on his part. And so I'm fucked. You know, now I'm triggered. I'm mad. I'm pissed. So I fucking hit my horn, and I'm like, bro, I'll fuck kill you. Get out of my fucking parking space. You know, he's like, what? I didn't see you. And I'm like, this whole fucking car? You didn't see this car. What about the flashing light that indicated I was going to turn into that parking space? And so he backed out, and then I pulled in, and, you know.
Oh, you made him back out?
Oh, fuck yeah, I did.
That's
You
awesome.
crazy? And so I get out of my car.
Merry Christmas, jackass.
Yeah. And so I got to look over my shoulder because I don't want to take a round to the back if, you know, a guy's going to shoot me because I'm fucking, you know.
Over a parking spot.
I'm watching him, you know. I'm like, where's he at? And he drives off. Maybe it was for the best of both of us. But I go into Fry's. And apparently everybody else in the fucking world decided they needed to go to Fry's the same time I did. So
that was valiant of you to think that you could actually take a trip to Fry's on.
Well, we get cute, like I said.
Holiday. Well,
so that was really, and it didn't last that long. I think we've talked about that in group, right? We talk about the intensity, the frequency, and the duration of how long something lasts. And it was pretty much gone by the time I got from Fry's back to my mother-in-law's. But that time frame in between there, man, I could feel that, like Brian says, you feel about that Hulk coming up.
Yeah, the rage building up.
And so, I mean, other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of gripe when it comes to working the holidays. I think early in my career, I liked working the holidays. It was good money to work the holidays, and
but picture yourself working the holidays now.
no,
If you were in a black and white and you got sent to the same shit, you ain't gonna be able to do it. You know.
No.
It's very.
I wouldn't even
different.
be able to get myself out of bed to get ready to go to the station. So
what are your struggles now?
just that, like I said, my struggles are the crowds, the people. I miss the days when I was younger. Christmas seemed a lot more fun and people were more pleasant. It didn't seem as crowded, and there was just a lot more. It seemed like a lot more humanity, more lights. People were happier.
Well, that's my problem now is I have a lot of anger. I got a lot of anger. So anytime I have to stay away from people. You guys have kids. You have to do Christmas. We don't necessarily have to do Christmas. We don't have to give gifts. We don't have to go anywhere. Thank God. Because when somebody disrespects another person during the holidays, or especially me, like when they do something rude or on a freaking holiday, it makes me crazy. So I just can't go anywhere. We'll just stay home during the holidays and have a quiet time.
Isn't that every day though?
Well, no, because I have to go to work. So if I don't have to go to work, then I'm.
So when you're at work, you don't have the same triggers?
I try and say I don't have triggers at work, but I do. I mean, I'm around officers all the time in their uniforms, and people from my city come in there and be like, "Oh, what's going on with you, and how are you doing?" And that sets me off. So.
Yeah.
But do you take the opportunity to explain to them what's going on with you?
I do. In the beginning, I kind of avoided it, but I tell them now and talk about what the issues are, and of course, all I hear is, I had no idea. I had no idea. Okay, well, now that you have an idea, what does that change anything for you? So
they just have answers to maybe some rumors, but realistically, what are they going to say to you? What are they going to do?
They ain't gonna say nothing.
And sometimes
they're sorry.
So what they say, they had no idea about the symptoms you're dealing with, or with your diagnosis, or what?
All of the above. I think they had no idea when I took this position. They didn't realize that the reason I got off the street, because it's like it can be a big rumor mill in the department, or it can be you fucking have no idea what happened to that person, right?
Yeah. You
either hear all this shit and whether it's true or not, and then people just disappear, and you're like, "Oh, dude, I had no idea what happened to you. I just thought you got a different job. They put you got a detective job now or whatever."
Well, we did talk about that before. I mean, our department was big enough to where it wasn't uncommon to not see each other for years at a time, especially if one was in a specialty detail and the other one's in patrol.
Right.
And it made it even harder if you were in a specialty detail that didn't encompass my specialty detail. If you're in fucking fraud, like you're doing check fraud, unless gang members are committing a lot of forgeries, I'm not going to come across your cases. It's different with homicide. Gangs and homicide go together. So if you knew somebody went to homicide, you saw them on the call out. But, you just didn't deal with that. Kitty crimes, I never saw the kitty crimes detectives.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys were buried in a computer screen for 10, 12 hours a day writing cases, and very rarely did I deal with those guys. So unless I specifically asked for somebody, I wouldn't see them.
Yeah.
And, maybe the holidays is different, but for me, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot. Did you? I mean, you say because you don't have family, but I take it you celebrate Christmas. You like it? Do you get out? You got to go buy gifts, right? You got nieces and nephews and shit.
Nope. I didn't buy.
No, you just stiffed everybody this year. Is that
I just stiff everybody. But we make we say prior to, all right, are we doing gifts this year? No, we're not doing gifts, So I was approved to not buy gifts. It's not like I wasn't just.
But
I had to go out and get in the middle of all that shit, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good for me. It wouldn't be good for other people.
You can order that shit on Amazon now. They're closing stores left and right. There's no more Toys R Us, and Sears is getting, closed down.
Well, but I'm old school too. I don't do a bunch of shit online. I don't, so it would have to be physically going out and doing that, and I'd rather not. I'd rather just spend time with people. If we're gonna do Christmas, we're just gonna hang out and play games, sit around and enjoy each other's time. It's not about shit anymore for me.
So, well, what
I'm
about
old.
what
I
about
got
just
shit.
going to your family's house? Is that a trigger?
Yeah. Not a big trigger like it is. Obviously, my parents, it's all good. It's not that big of a trigger. It's other people.
Strangers.
Yeah.
So not family members.
Disrespectful people. No, there have been family members that will trigger me because they're, they don't think about everything that comes out of their mouth before they say it.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, what's going on? Hey, everything good at work? Or,
yeah.
shoot anybody lately?
Oh,
Shit like
God.
that?
That's the stupidest comment ever. Yeah. That's that's the first thing that somebody, when you tell them, yeah, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and they're like, dude, did you get shot? I'm like, motherfuckers. No.
Pretty sure you would have been the first to know if you're in my family. I got shot.
No, I didn't get shot. Thanks for asking.
So, what about you, Brian?
So this Christmas was, well, Thanksgiving and Christmas was a little difficult for me. Some of my triggers are obviously people, being around a lot of people, crowded places. It's not easy for me because I get a lot of anxiety built up, and that quickly turns to anger if I don't have control of the situation, which is almost
99% of the time.
Yeah, I never have control.
What anxiety do you have? What do you want to control?
Well,
everything.
well, yeah, because so I have a new startle response that didn't exist before, and so any type of uncontrolled movement that's happening around me could startle me or trigger something inside me that just wells up into anger or anxiety. And I had to go to plays or things at my kids' school that involves me being in a crowded auditorium, shoulder to shoulder
screaming
with
kids,
screaming kids,
stupid parents,
strangers, people in front of me, behind me, noise all the way around. And I have hypervigilance that makes me hear everything. I hear everything around me. So it's kind of like sensory overload when I'm in an auditorium where there's just people everywhere and everyone's talking, and crying kids and uncontrolled movement, and just everything bad for me is there. So,
and there is where your children want you, right?
well, yeah, I still have to be a dad,
Yeah.
but I'm struggling with my PTSD. So it's like I have this struggle inside where I just want to feel. I don't want to feel like I feel. I don't want to deal with my symptoms of anxiety, anger, depression, whatever I'm feeling at that moment. I don't want to deal with that, especially with some of the stress of the holidays. But I still have to be a dad, so I go to their activities, and some of the ways that I cope is I wear headphones.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go into like the auditorium and I'll put headphones on, and I listen to my own music while they're singing or while people are talking. And then when my kids' portion of the program comes on, then I'll turn it off or turn it down and listen to them. And then I go back into my own world. And that's a way for me to kind of control
The stimulus.
the stimulus around me, the talking, all the noise. I can control what I'm listening to and how loud I'm listening to it, and kind of drown out some of the stuff going on around me. And so that's difficult, trying to be dad and
Crazy dad.
Trying to be normal.
Trying to be
Dad,
normal.
because that's what you always say. You always mention that. I just want to be normal.
I'm just trying to be
I just want to be
normal.
able to do normal things.
Yeah. But with all the hectic times around holidays, it's not easy for me to be normal. So, dealing with that kind of stuff and being around crowds and families and traffic, and usually when I'm driving in traffic, people are in a hurry and driving like idiots, and then they're lane changing without signaling and all that kind of stuff that I have no control over, but it triggers everything all over again. And it's just tons of drama that I don't need, but I have to deal with it, you know. And some of the coping mechanisms that I've had when I was first diagnosed was medication. You know, I used medication to kind of calm me down and help me control the anger and the anxiety and depression and whatever else I was feeling. But I haven't been on medication for over a year. And you know, when I made that switch, I had to consciously try and control my reactions to things, you know, because before I could, if I was getting really angry or lots of anxiety, or just a lot of times you feel inside everything's just like, it feels so chaotic inside, and you can't pinpoint exactly what's happening, whether it's anxiety or depression or whatever. You just don't know what it is. It just wells up inside you. And then, well, for me anyway, and then it gets to a point where it's so overwhelming that it turns to anger. And so before I used medication to deal with that. And so now that I'm not on medication, I consciously have to see that, hey, I'm starting to feel these feelings rush in. I need to do something about it before it gets out of control. So I don't have the pills to do that. So I turn to like the headphones. I use that
Self-soothing.
Yeah, I fight. I do jujitsu, and that helps me calm down.
Before or after you have to go see those things, or both?
Well, I try and maintain during the week. You know, if I know I'm going to go into a chaotic event, I try and burn up a lot of the energy inside beforehand. So it's kind of like maintaining. If I don't do it, then I can see a difference in the way I feel if I don't maintain, if I don't try and do something to shed the anxiety or whatever's going on. Most of the time it's anger, you know, because I have a hard time. It's hard to explain, but I feel like lashing out a lot of times when things trigger me.
Well, I go straight to anger. There's no in between. There's zero.
Well, it's 'cause it's
zero
easy.
to 100.
Yeah.
Well, they piss me off. Like I don't have any other emotions besides anger right now.
That's just the easiest one to go to.
Do your wives ever tell you that you're yelling when you're just talking to them?
Well,
Like
I know I'm
something's
yelling.
going on?
I know I'm yelling when she says that. I know I'm yelling, but I'm to a point where I don't care anymore. Like if you don't turn off the water, if you don't turn off your garden hose before it gets to a certain point, it turns into a fire hose, and then at that point you're like, screw it, it's already out, you know.
Well, but I don't think I'm yelling. She's like, why are you yelling? And I'm like, I'm not yelling yet, but I can show you that I will yell now, and then it just goes out of control.
Now mine says I'm not mine says don't talk to me like a suspect.
Oh, does she now?
Yeah. Well, because I think that's what we do just in general. When you start getting a bad vibe, or you're irritated and you're tired of people fucking lying to you or not listening to what you're telling them, I think you go back to that cop mode where you're just like, you know what, in this fucking conversation right now, you're going to jail. Because, you know, for us, you know, somebody, like she says, you think you can run to the store for me? Now, in my head, it's not okay to run to the store Christmas Day Eve. Why didn't you get that shit before?
You have to still be a husband and help out.
Yeah.
And that's what I run into. It's like, well, I have to be normal for her, and I can't always tell her, hey, I'm triggered, or I don't feel good right now. I can't use that excuse, because at some point I have to try and be productive.
Right.
You know, and it's overwhelming sometimes to try and hold all those emotions in all the time, so that you can try and portray yourself as normal around other people, so that they can feel good, so that they can have a normal day, while inside you're like a firecracker just ready to go off.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just go off because you've been holding it in for so long, you know. And
well, what did the meds do different?
Sedated you.
Well, I mean, I know what that does, because I was on the meds, and it took away pretty much my ability to feel anything. positive or negative.
I was a zombie when
Yeah.
I was on that. When I was on medication, I was a zombie. I didn't feel love. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel anything. I was just
there
existing.
Yeah.
You know, and so while that helped during the times when I was in crisis, on extended time, it doesn't work. It wasn't. I was tired of feeling like a zombie. I was tired of not feeling. I mean, because I got to a point where I know I love my family, but I wasn't feeling it anymore. And so
it's just a good reset, right? To get you reset into being able to cope again, or being able to reset your body to try to self-soothe like you do now.
Well, at first, before I knew what was happening to me, when I first got diagnosed with PTSD, I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't familiar with all the feelings that were happening to me. And so I needed it, you know, but now that I know what's going on, I have to recognize it and be mindful about what's happening to me right now and how can I head it off so that in the future it doesn't turn into the Hulk, you know, because it's my responsibility now, you know. But with medication, you know, it's an easy out, you know, and that's why a lot of people turn to alcohol, you know,
because they don't want to.
I'm not saying it because you're drinking.
I was like, is that me?
No, but like just cops in general. There's lots of alcoholic cops who are suffering from symptoms of acute stress or PTSD, and they may not be diagnosed, but they're hiding or shoving those feelings down with alcohol or with some other type of behavior. And, you know, and you see all these cops with 3-4 marriages, DUIs, whatever, you know, and so people cope different ways.
Well, okay, so because we're talking about the holidays, who the fuck doesn't drink on the holidays? So you're thrust into that anyways. But, you know, my wife and I were talking before the podcast. We had went out to have lunch, but we're talking about, you know, if the doctors say it's okay, everybody's on board with it, right? Here, take the benzodiazepams. No, yeah, it's great, take it. And then they find out it's bad for you. Oh, we made a mistake. In that world, they want you to do what they think is going to work. And they come to find out, like the opioids, they find out that was bad. They're addictive. Now we got all these people addicted to this. But it worked, right? My meds helped me not feel. And
you're not talking about opioids. You're talking about the benzos or...
Well, the benzos or the opioids. Part of the reason that the opioids did that, because they took away the pain of the injury that they had. Physical back injuries would always give opioids. Any kind of muscle relaxers and stuff like that was taken away.
Are you still taking meds?
No. I got off meds, my sleep meds. I got off them about 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. But for a while I was like Brian. So it was a prerequisite, I guess, so to speak, to take them before I had to go out.
Yeah.
Because let's say I knew, Brian's not fucked up and Brian was having a party at his house and I knew he has kids, swimming pool, people are going to be screaming. What I would do is I would take my lorazepam about 30 minutes before we left. And then I'd have my lorazepam in my pocket just in case something happened and I burned through them over there. So I became kind of dependent on them because that was really the only way I could get through it. Now, some would argue, and I have argued, that what's the difference between me just taking the edge off with a drink and preparing for something and me popping a fucking lorazepam or, something else, risperidone to get my heart rate down or something.
Well, it was never an issue. I'm sure having a sip or one drink or whatever, but no one stops at one drink is the issue, is that it's not taking the problem fast enough or long enough or whatever. So it's a continual drinking and you're walking around hammered all the time and you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Well, that was us in fucking what was we both took the same med and I'm like, dude, it's like you're fucking Lexapro. You know, that's like Lexapro's like drinking. You're out of it. You're checked out. You are numb.
Okay, well, I'm on Lexapro right now, and I have to be on something because I cannot even imagine what my anger would be if I didn't take it. Because I'd probably be in jail for somebody pissing me off or something. So yeah.
And Lexapro did help that. I was on Lexapro at the time when I was on the department, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I had no empathy. I had no anger. I had no happiness. You could not. I was basically a shell of a person who just knew what the checkbox were.
Right.
Right. So if I arrested somebody at Walmart and maybe they had kids and they were hungry and they were stealing food, and that's not an excuse, but you know, some of us have like, you got a 2-year-old.
Right.
I know you got formula here. You're not.
You're
it was
not
gone.
stealing steak.
Yeah, it was gone.
Yeah.
Like, you get a ticket. See you later. Have a nice day. Oh, by the way, I'm calling CPS on your kids. Like, there was no room for empathy or discretion. It was just check it, move on. And I don't think the public doesn't deserve that for
Right.
sure. And my family didn't deserve that because that's what they got when I got home. You know, I've joked with Brian before, because he asked me about Lexapro and I told him. And, you know, my reaction to my wife, if she came through and said, we just won $100 million, I'd be like, that's great. And if she came home and said, I'm leaving you because I'm tired of your shit and I met someone else, have a nice day, I'd be like,
Peace out.
that's great. Same fucking reaction, because that's what it does.
Yeah, you just don't feel.
You just don't feel. And I don't think that's okay. I think we have to feel. So, you know, on the holidays, to be able to have emotions like we had in group, we were talking about how shitty holidays were, and Brian was talking about what his boy got for Christmas.
Yeah.
And the smiles on everyone's faces in that group reminded me of what it was like to have Christmas. You know, smiling, laughing, the stupid shit kids do when they get a gift, you know.
Yeah.
And so without that, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but on Lexapro, you wouldn't be smiling.
No, you don't do
Right.
anything.
You just
well,
be like-
you do smile
I
because
smile.
you know that's
Sometimes.
a
I joke.
proper reaction. I found myself when I was on Lexapro putting on a show for people. I smiled. I said I love you. I did the things that were normal, even though I didn't feel them.
Yeah.
So you start living like this fake life because you don't feel anymore. Is that
No, that doesn't sound well, and it could be the difference between men and women.
Everyone's
taking-
different.
Yeah,
men and women.
We've talked to some women who said the same thing.
yeah?
Well,
But-
I don't feel that way.
I felt that way. I seriously felt like a zombie, and I'd go into my doctor and I'd say, "Hey, here's how I'm feeling. I know that's not normal, you know, but at
Right.
the same time, she's like, well, you know, you need this right now because of how severe your symptoms are." And I knew that, but at the same time, all of us just want to feel normal.
Right.
Yeah.
No one wants to feel what the things we go through, and anyone suffering with post-traumatic stress is they go through things that most people can't understand, and that's hard.
And I think part of it, like for me, it was kind of a double-edged sword. Like, they put me on Lexapro because my heart rate was so high. They were afraid I was going to stroke out. So they mixed that with a beta blocker to bring me down because my blood pressure would skyrocket. On triggers, I would skyrocket tremendously. So it was necessary for the time that it took place, but I ended up taking myself off the Lexapro because I could not tolerate what Brian was talking about. It was almost like you were acting. Like, people would be laughing. You're like, oh, I have to smile now.
Yeah, that's
You know?
exactly right.
That's how I felt.
That's weird.
And it's
So what does
terrible.
it do for you?
I think it keeps me at a more of a medium because I was always, super happy. I was always way up here, happy, fun to be around.
You're saying normal.
Normally, I was a
Yeah.
social butterfly and whatever, but now I'm not like that. It's like I'm half of that, And I think right now I'm dealing with a little depression. It's harder to get out of bed, and I don't know what's causing it. But
Holidays?
well, and that see, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's the holidays or if it's the fact that my problem with the city getting injured and it's still ongoing. So I've got no end in sight. You know what I mean? So I feel a little.
Like
in
in limbo?
Like you want some closure.
I'm definitely in limbo.
So does Lexapro bring you up or bring you down?
It shouldn't do either. It should just keep you like this.
Well, I think
right?
it does. I think
Yeah.
it keeps me just
Just level.
level.
Well, because you talked about depression and and some of the things that you're feeling, does the Lexapro bring you up from that? Or
Well,
does it bring you down from anger? Or does it put
Well,
you right in the middle
I
of
think
both?
it brings me down from anger for sure, because I think if I wasn't on it, like I said, I'd be in jail.
Well, do you
Because
find yourself?
I wouldn't be able to control myself.
Do you find yourself having the ability on Lexapro to get happy when you should be happy?
Yeah, I think so. Not the level I used to be able to get happy.
Well, you were really, really up there.
I'm a happy motherfucker.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But does
wouldn't
it
look at me-
prevent you from going to that level? Does it, like, if someone came to you and said, you just won $5 million, do you think you're going to get the emotional ride that you should get that a normal person would get?
Probably not.
Okay, so then the opposite. If somebody gave you bad news, would you drop below to take the sadness?
Yeah. Because I know that we just had some bad news on, over the weekend that someone's in our family that we know is dying. So, and that was overwhelming. So it was overwhelming, but it didn't last forever,
But did you have the proper response to that? Or did the Lexapro keep you from that?
I don't know what the proper response is anymore. Yeah, I was sad. I cried, but it didn't last.
Sounds pretty proper.
I mean, that seems normal to me, right?
Yeah.
But I really do think it just controls my anger. Because how many times did we try and stop our meds when we weren't supposed to? All right, I'm good now. I've been on it for, I got 6 weeks under my belt. I'm good. Stop it, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Well, the sleep ones were the most important for me, because what happened was the lack of sleep created more of anger. So I really needed the temazepam to sleep, to be able to go to sleep at night.
I said that about the sleep meds, that I'm probably still alive because of the sleep meds, because I was starting to hallucinate, starting to hear things that weren't really there, and I'm like, son of a bitch, something's got to change, because it's gonna get dangerous up in here.
Yeah, sleep is detrimental when it comes to that.
Oh yeah.
So, what else about the holidays? Anything that you can think of? I'm kind of sad that they're over.
I'm not.
Why?
No, not at all.
No, it's really hectic, and I don't look forward to it. And I feel bad saying that, because I want to be excited and happy, But then I have the internal struggle that I deal with for at least 2 months, where everything's going crazy, and it's just I always feel like I want to jump out of my skin, because I have so much emotions built up inside that I don't let out, because I'm trying to be normal for everyone else, and it's overwhelming.
What don't you want to end? Like what?
Oh yeah.
I even say
so
that
what
about
is so fun about it for you, Manny?
What's so great?
Well, we live in Arizona for one, so the weather I don't want to fucking end, because
that has nothing to do with the fucking holidays.
No.
It's the goddamn
well, for
weather.
me, summertime is just miserable. It's just fucking miserable for me. That's when my anger peaks, because I'm fucking hot. Everybody, if you in Arizona, when it's fucking 110, 120, they don't give a fuck. They hike.
Well,
you know?
and they die on the mountain.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's that little brief time in there where you see a little bit of sense of humanity. Even though it's gone from what used to be really big to a little, you still see a little bit. I see people just being a little bit more forgiving than what they would normally be. And then I like the colors. I like the colors of the holidays.
Dirt.
No, I'm talking about
Dirt?
on the fucking house.
The colors. Oh, I thought you were talking
the
about
colors, the lights. I was like,
No,
not
not
like-
in Arizona, because we don't have those
yeah,
fucking
it's
colors.
not like the leaves come down and
Yeah.
change colors in Arizona. You
No.
see dirt and cactus,
I
and that's
like, I
it.
like to see houses decorated and shit. And,
you can wear red and green all fucking year long.
it's not the same when it's 120 degrees.
No one's gonna think anything of it.
I like seeing, full-grown elves running downtown Phoenix or showing up for a cigar.
See?
You don't see that
I
shit
can
in the summertime.
Well, that's true. You rarely see that anyway.
Yeah. So for me, I just think that, for the people that aren't as far out as we are, I think every single minute, day to day is a struggle, and they see the negativity. I was talking to my wife the other day after we were in group, and we were talking about the holidays, and I said, my career didn't suck. My career as a police officer was not horrible.
No.
Nothing about my career. So I had more...
I would have never said that either.
Yeah.
I loved my career.
So my career was more positives than negatives.
Yes.
So sometimes I hear officers, and maybe they're just, they're a little bit not as far along as I am, but they seem to think that their career was all misery, right? And my wife scolded me one time because we were doing a presentation, and we take questions, and somebody in the audience had asked, if you knew now, then when you first started, would you take the job and do it all over again? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely, I would do that job all over again. My wife's like, the fuck you would, right?
I say the fuck you would too.
I totally would.
There's no way.
I would totally do the job again. I think even people that have been injured severely in the line of duty would not give that up. That
I don't know.
No.
Because here's when people ask me that, or when people ask me, hey, I want to be a cop, I'm like, don't do it. Because I can see night and day difference between the person I was before I started doing police work and the person now. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Right.
But that's not
Although
necessarily a bad thing.
Well,
you because look, with the police department, when people tell me I want to be a police officer, I tell them no for one reason. Not because of PTSD. I tell them no because the departments are not fucking backing their officers.
Well, that's the only reason I say.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Part of what it's like the military. We were out at California Pizza Kitchen. I text everybody they're going to do a fundraiser for Pistol, and her son is in the Navy now, and we were talking about that, and she said, "My son's a different person," and she had this big smile on her face. And I said, "What's different about him?" She's like, "He's confident. He has more manners. He understands certain things different." And I think that's what the career gave me. It gave me the confidence. It gave me that leadership. It gave me those things. It also gave me PTSD. The difference only being if I had a choice, I would have done things different in regards to my mental health. That would have been it. Nothing would change me from wanting to be a cop again. Now, if I met my previous self, my younger self, and I could talk to that person, I'd say, here's the deal. Figure out how to maintain whatever you're dealing with along the way. Because that's something that they don't teach us. It doesn't mean the career is bad, in my opinion. It doesn't mean the career is bad, and I wouldn't sacrifice my career. I wouldn't trade that for anything. Even knowing the outcome at this point. That's like, for me, it's like people saying, I want to be a cop, but then I got shot, and no. I think we all kind of understand. It's like being injured. It's.
You go into this job thinking, okay, yes, I could get shot. Yes, I could die. But did you ever think that by being a police officer and sacrificing all of what could happen to you, that you would ever be treated the way you were treated after getting injured?
No.
Never crossed my mind.
Never crossed
because
my mind.
I thought, I'm a police officer. I run towards the gunfire.
they're gonna have my back.
They're gonna take care of me no matter what. You get a physical injury and they take care of you. You go to the doctor, you get healed from those things. But that's the only reason I would tell somebody not to be a cop, because they will not take care of you.
But what I did say a lot during my career was, the only thing you get out of this if you're killed in line of duty is a wreath. I mean, that's really all you get. I mean, sure, your family gets a pension, but you just get a wreath. This you don't go in this for glory. You don't go in for it for that. You go in for what you were saying about being taken care of, like they should take care of us.
That's not why you go in. That you go in because you think you're gonna
make a difference.
Right. You're gonna help people. You're gonna put the bad guys away. Those are the reasons you get into.
I don't think that none of us in this room didn't do that.
No,
right.
I think you do, but the reason I say I wouldn't suggest it to people is because there's not enough emphasis put on mental health. Like when I went through the police academy, it was like, just don't think about some of the calls you went on, or you're gonna compartmentalize some of these things. Well, they never taught us about mental health. They never taught us about how to take care of yourself. And I know that now. I know exactly how to take care of myself. And as Pistol, we want to help. We want to help change the culture in police work on how to take care of yourself. emotionally and mentally, but a lot of the things that I lost, personality wise and social wise, is because of the lack of mental health preservation. No one taught us that. And so I think if I would have had some of the skills I have now early on, if they would have taught me that in the academy instead of, dissociating and ignoring the problems, because we go on calls and it's a nasty one, but we're not going to talk about it. No way is anyone going to talk about it.
Well, but that's just a changing of the culture. That's not necessarily... So if they taught you something in the academy and told you about mental health, okay, so you know that now. Who in that circle of officers standing around that dead body is going to be the one to say something?
Well, you know what?
Right?
It needs to be taught that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay for you to say, man, that one hurt. It should be okay. But the police culture, cops eat their own. If they see any weakness in one of their peers, they're going to jump right on it and try and belittle that person or get them demoted or whatever, instead of offering a hand up, Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from they're not educated. Cops aren't educated on the mental effects of the job or...
Well, I don't know if it's education. I think that it's, if I don't have it, then why do you have it? So even working with people so long, and you think, I've worked with this person forever, they're strong people, then all of a sudden they're not strong people. And
that's true. And someone even said that to me.
Right.
I was on the same call with you. No, they didn't say that. They said, I read the report and it didn't affect me like it affected you.
Yeah.
Well, I was on scene holding a rifle, about to get in a shootout, watching bodies bleed out, performing CPR on babies.
Someone said that to you? Was it a higher up?
No, it was a peer. And
God.
that's what bothers me, is like,
That's crazy.
people don't understand, because everyone thinks they're invincible. That's what it is.
I thought I was
Every
invincible.
cop thinks they're invincible.
I didn't think PTSD I would have to ever worry about. Ever.
Neither did I.
I am so good mentally. I got no problem.
Yeah, until you're not.
And then bam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was going down with a bullet. Like, I was like, a bullet's going to take me out of my career.
I was sure of it.
Yeah.
I was sure that I was going to get killed on duty, or that, who knows?
Yeah.
But I knew that. And the sad thing is I got to a point in my career where I was okay with that, and I was actually okay if I died on duty, and that was, I think, partly depression, maybe, or who knows? Where you think to yourself, and I know lots of guys who have been diagnosed with PTSD and those who haven't, who said, well, if I died on duty, my family's taken care of.
Yeah.
And that's a passive way of saying, I don't care if I die.
Well, because, there were two options for me when I graduated the academy. Make my 25, or
go home in a body bag.
Or go home in a body bag. That was really the only option I had. There was no in between. And that, I think that part's, and maybe later on when we do another podcast, we can talk about the shame of it. But that's what really bothered me, was when I was like, I didn't get shot, and I'm out. I'm out. Right? You're tapping out. You're done. So with that, like, going back to what I was telling you about telling people to do the job. Now, when I tell people, you're going to be a cop, I met with one of my buddies. His son wanted to be a cop. And I explained to him what I went through. And I said, here's how you alleviate or don't go down the road I went down. And if you go down this road, mentally, in a mental health capacity, you'll be fine. All the other rounds that come down range at you are a lot harder to deal with if you already have what you want to do with the doctors, right? Like, I saw a bad call, I know I got to go see a doctor. Mm-hmm. Or I broke my ankle, I got to go see a doctor. What we don't, and what we're not prepared for, is what you said, T, about the betrayal. Them taking care of you. Ugh. Them asking for help, and them saying no.
You're not hurt.
You're not injured.
Yeah.
Because even if you've done everything like I did, you ask for help right after the incident. They start telling you this didn't happen, you're a liar, you're a fake. Or in one case, and I'll put the soundbite up in a future podcast, our own PIO for our department is questioned about PTSD, and he says it's an opinion. That's exactly what he says. And I was like, what does that even mean? it's my opinion that I have it, or it's a doctor's opinion that I have it. It's not a fact, you know, and that goes back to what you were saying about the betrayal, you know, and now I see it more and more on the departments, more and more. And we've had officers who have come in who've said, I've been involved in a shooting, and from that shooting, I get a life-saving award. What's on the heels of the life-saving award? An internal affairs investigation for excessive force. How does that even work? Right? You know you did right, and then they hit you with an NOI for excessive force. Or
That's because there's policies in place, and if they don't check that box, then they're not doing their job right. And so, unfortunately, there's unintended consequences for being put through a BS investigation, or an investigation just to check a box.
Well, I went through IA, and I think that's part of doing business. But when it comes to something that when we ask for help, that shouldn't be a question, right? That should not be a question when it comes to somebody saying to you, I'm not okay from this last call, because they know if you fell down and broke your leg, you're not okay. They see the physical injury, but in this case, because you're barking up the tree of, I'm not okay from this call, they immediately go to the extreme and say, oh, they're going to claim PTSD and retire. And that's not what we were trying to do.
Well, no, I think they're seeing that they have to address the problem. I mean, agencies and administrations have, for years, just closed their eyes and pretend like PTSD doesn't exist. And they do that because they don't want to open the door to the possibility that their officers have PTSD.
Guess what? Their officers have PTSD.
Yeah. Like, and there's different, and
what
thing
the
is,
fuck? It's like the military all over again. It's so fucking stupid.
There's different levels of post-traumatic stress, you know. There's workable levels, there's non-workable levels, you know. And that's where I was at, where I had to retire because of it, which was crappy because I lost my career. But, you know, if you could get treatment to those guys who aren't, you know, extreme with PTSD, it's fixable. And they need to understand that, hey, this is a problem that can be fixed. And if you wait too long, you can't sew back on a chopped off arm, you know? It's like,
mine could have been fixed.
Mine could have been.
Mine could have been fixed.
That was part of my deal when they went through it. They said, hey, this was totally fixable.
Betrayal is so much more of my problem now than the incident ever was. I don't think about the incident. Rarely does it come up. When I see the other officer involved, it may be, you know, trigger a little something in me, but I rarely think about it. But betrayal is on my mind every day. And I think that's why my anger gets so bad, because anytime it's disrespectful, someone being disrespectful to someone else, being disrespectful to me, like, sends me over the edge, because that's not how it should be.
So you're getting reminded of where you're at.
Oh, all the time. All the time.
I think that's just how it is. Being reminded like that, especially if you're still working, that is the worst.
It's hard. It's hard to go to work every day and I'll always be a hard worker. I'll always be a hard worker. I told my doctor the other day, you know, I'll go to work. I'll go to work and fucking kill myself before, like, not kill myself, literally kill myself, but kill myself making sure I get the job done for these motherfuckers that don't give two shits, that have told me, you know, it's not about you.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
That's a kick in the balls.
That's a kick in my non-balls.
All right. So, with that, Brian, do you want to talk about who we are in regards to what we do and where we're at? And I'll get you the numbers for who to call and when.
Sure. So we are Pistol, Post-Incident Stress and Trauma in Law Enforcement, and we are a nonprofit organization that does peer support for cops with PTSD or who are struggling from acute stress. Our organization is not affiliated with any agency. We don't worry about rank. We don't care about anything like that. And no one in our organization is paid. So we're all doing this to help others. And so
reach out if you need help.
Reach out. Sorry, I
Make
lost
sure
track of
you-
what I was saying.
Make sure you, and you're not even drinking anything.
Well, I got distracted by Wonder Woman. Over there, so
Make sure that you reach out. Go to our website. Reach out to us, 480-524-9234. Go to YouTube. Hopefully we'll put these up. If it works out, my son's going to help. My 14-year-old is going to be able to help us get everything situated with the podcast, and we'll have topics. Hopefully we'll be able to go YouTube live. We have fundraisers coming up. And
so I'm back on track now.
Oh, what do you got?
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Don't ruin it.
Wonder Woman.
So we want you guys to comment about what you think, some of the things you are feeling when you listen to this podcast. We want to know your feedback,
questions you have,
yeah. Topics you'd like us to discuss, because we have lots of resources if we don't know what you're asking. But it's important that you guys know that there is help out there. Suicide is not the answer for anything. That's never an option. And even though things may feel overwhelming, if you're listening to this and you have suicidal thoughts, reach out. There's also the suicide hotline you could call. And Manny can get you that number. But
and just know you're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah.
That's easy.
All right. Well, next week we'll do another one. If you guys have a topic you want to talk about, just shoot us an email or a text. Drop a comment in our YouTube or Facebook.
I'm easily entertained.